This video shows you how to create rubrics in your courses in Desire to Learn. Click on the Edit Course link in the navigation area. Scroll down to the Assessment area, and the last item in the last column is Rubrics. Rubrics are tools that allow instructors to provide feedback about the quality of various criteria in a given assignment by selecting from descriptions of the various quality levels. Providing the evaluation rubric to students ahead of time allows them to see how they'll be assessed on a given item. For example, in this instructor's course, there's a journal report rubric. Let's see what the rubric looks like. This rubric contains many criteria such as quality of a summary, applying the course materials, presentation of the student's own ideas and opinions, demonstrating critical thinking skills. And the instructor has also set up a scale. 0 points for this quality is missing, 1 point for a beginning level, 2 for undeveloped, 3 for emerging, 4 for proficient, and 5 for exemplary. You'll notice that the instructor has keyed in the feedback that he or she would be giving to students anyway, over and over and over again. Rubrics help you to give personalized feedback to students without having to key the same thing in over and over to the students. Let's create a new rubric. Click on that big blue button that says New Rubric, and you'll see two different tabs, Properties and Levels and Criteria. Under Properties, give the rubric a name. Leave the rubric in draft status for now. When you're finished with it, you can create it in published status. Published means that students are able to see the rubric and you're able to associate items in the course with the rubric. You can create a description for the rubric to remind you and your students what the rubric is about. Under rubric type, there's analytic and holistic. Analytic means there are multiple criteria that are associated with the grade, and holistic means there's only one criterion. You can set the number of levels. These are the scale numbers, such as 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can set the number of criteria as well. The scoring method here is points. You can set it to custom points, so instead of 1, 2, 3, and 4, you could do 0, 25, 50, 75, 100, or text only. For our example, we'll keep this with points. Also, under Advanced Availability, leave these checkboxes checked. This means that students can take your feedback on the rubric and then put it into their competencies and ePortfolio tools. Scroll back up and click on the Levels and Criteria tab. On the Levels and Criteria tab, you'll see that there are black drop-down action menus for all of the items on the screen. You can edit the criteria, or you can edit the levels. Either way, this allows you to give custom names for each of the criteria and each of the levels, and it also allows you to key in your feedback for each of the intersecting cells in this table. Before we begin that, though, let's take a look at the items on top of the cells. Add Criterion allows you to put more criteria for evaluating using the rubric. Adding a level allows you to put in a custom level. You'll see that these levels go from 4 points to 1 point. If you wanted to add a 0 or a 5, this is where you would use the Add Level link. Also, Add Criteria Group allows you to create a separate group of criteria that perhaps have a different level scale. So if some of your criteria are yes and no, you might use levels 0 and 1. And if some of your criteria are on a Likert scale from 1 to 5, you could have another group with that 1 to 5 scale. Reorder criteria allows you to shift the criteria around in the display order. And reverse level order, you see how the criteria and levels are put together here with the highest amount first, moving down. Clicking reverse level order, as I'm doing now, starts out with the lowest and moves to the highest. By clicking on the drop-down action menu next to Criterion 1 and selecting Edit Criterion, this takes us to the Edit Criterion screen. Here's where we can put in the name of the criterion. Most discussions get graded on frequency and quality, so we'll say this criterion is discussion frequency. Level 1 is the lowest level. You did not take an active part in our discussions and posted on fewer than 2 days this week. I can also provide specific feedback based on the description here. Level 2 is better, but still not up to snuff. You did not take an active part in our discussions. You did post on the minimum number of days. Level 3 is average. Thank you for posting 3 messages on 3 different days. And Level 4 is outstanding. You posted more than the minimum 3 messages on 3 days. Great work. Click the Save button, and this will save this particular criterion and all of the level descriptions. It takes us back to the Edit Rubric screen, where you can see that the criterion name, discussion frequency, now displays, and all of the descriptors for each of the levels are now in here. We could do Criterion 2 and Criterion 3, but for the purposes of our demonstration, we'll leave those alone. Click the Close button. Now you see you have your sample discussion rubric. Since it's a draft, you can't yet associate it with any other gradable items. So you can use the Action drop-down menu, click on Set Status, and make it a published rubric. In order to associate an item with a grading rubric, go to the item itself. For example, I'll click on Communication, then Discussions. Here's a discussion element. I'll click Edit Topic. For this topic, I'll click on the Assessment tab, where there's an Add Rubric button. I'll select which rubric I want to associate with this gradable item, and click Add Selected, and then you see that Sample Discussion Rubric is now associated with this topic. I'll click Save. In order to use rubrics to grade items, go to the items themselves. In this case, we're going to look at a drop box. Scroll down to the actual performance of the individual. For the Dropbox, you can click on the Grade and Feedback link. Here you can take a look at the individual's work and click on the rubric itself in order to use the rubric to assess this student's work. The rubric displays with radio buttons that you can check. So for each of these items, you can check how the student performed: exemplary, proficient, emerging, or so on. You'll see that this instructor has already graded using this rubric. The rubric tallies up the number of points that are earned, and the instructor can also use these edit features over here to give specific feedback that is different from or more specific than the general feedback that's in the rubric. The instructor clicks Save and Record, and the rubric puts the points in and then pushes the points into the grade item if the grade item is associated with this gradable item as well. That's how you use rubrics.